Samantha Bennett wasn't one for surprises, especially the kind involving strangers. At 29, she had buried herself in her corporate life in Lagos, avoiding the chaos of modern dating. But her best friend, Tolu, had other plans. It's just one date. One evening. If you hate him, you can leave early and blame me later, Tolu had insisted, all while cornering her in the office break room. The invitation came wrapped in ambiguity. She didn't know his name, only that he was tall, respectful, and recently moved back from the UK. That, and he had a warm laugh Tolu claimed could melt the iciest of hearts. Friday night found Samantha at Café Lumière, a cozy bistro tucked away on Victoria Island. Dressed in a simple maroon dress with minimal makeup, she felt uneasy as she waited, fidgeting with her phone. Then he walked in. Tall, yes. Clean-shaven, fitted in a casual navy blue shirt and jeans. His smile was calm, his presence grounding. When he approached, her heartbeat picked up, not from nerves but something different. "You must be Samantha," he said. "I'm David." The first 20 minutes were awkward, overcooked chicken, a dropped fork and mismatched humor. But something shifted when he started talking about his love for painting. Samantha, who collected abstract art, perked up. By the end of the evening she didn't want to leave. Samantha didn't text him first. But David did, at 8:43 a.m. the next morning. "Had a lovely time last night. Hope I didn't bore you too much. Would love to see you again." She replied within 5 minutes. Their second date was at a local art gallery in Lekki. Unlike their first encounter, this time they laughed freely, moved side by side as if they'd known each other for years. They discovered a mutual love for Fela Kuti, almond ice cream and old Nollywood films. But something about David felt guarded. Samantha noticed the way he avoided questions about his family or what brought him back to Nigeria. She let it slide for now. At the end of the night, as they stood beneath the starry sky by her car, David leaned in. "I haven't felt this way in a long time," he whispered. Their lips met gently, an honest, lingering kiss filled with budding hope. 3 weeks into dating, the rhythm had become familiar. Late-night phone calls, weekend brunches, spontaneous walks along Freedom Park. But the more Samantha opened up, the more David stayed guarded. One afternoon, while scrolling through Instagram, she saw him in a tagged photo. He was with another woman, laughing, arm around her waist. The caption read, "To new beginnings. #backhome #myperson." Samantha's stomach twisted. She didn't want to assume, but it was enough to raise doubt. When she confronted him that evening at his flat, David's face turned solemn. "She's my ex," he explained. "We were engaged, before I left for London. Things ended badly. That post was old. I never got around to deleting it." Samantha wanted to believe him. Part of her did. But trust, once cracked, doesn't easily heal. They didn't talk for a week. Samantha immersed herself in work. David sent a few messages, polite, gentle nudges. She ignored them. It wasn't until Tolu staged an intervention with a bottle of wine and tough love that she broke down. "You're scared. But you like him. Don't sabotage this because of fear." Meanwhile, David sat in his apartment, staring at a half-finished canvas. It was a painting of a woman with uncertain eyes. He hadn't picked up a brush since they stopped speaking. Then one night he showed up at her apartment, paint-stained jeans and all holding the canvas. "I didn't come to fix everything tonight," he said. "But I painted how I see you. And maybe that's a start." They began again. This time slowly. With honesty. David opened up about his past. The heartbreak, the relocation, the art school he left halfway. Samantha talked about her fears of vulnerability, of loving too deeply. They traveled to Abuja for a weekend getaway, visited art fairs together, met each other's families, and learned how to dance in the kitchen to soft Afrobeat music. 6 months later he proposed, not with a grand gesture but in the cafe where they first met. Over tea and laughter, he slid a ring across the table. Samantha smiled. "This is the best blind date I've ever been on." It had rained heavily the morning of Samantha and David's wedding. Heavy Lagos rain, the kind that turns traffic into chaos and puddles into lakes. Samantha stood by her hotel window watching the storm, her white silk robe clinging to her slightly trembling shoulders. Her mother came in holding a bowl of warm pepper soup and placed a hand on her back. "Rain on your wedding day is a blessing," she said softly, but so is courage. You're marrying a man, not a fairy tale. Those words would echo in Samantha's mind months later, when love was no longer all flowers and dances. But for now, despite the rain, the wedding was beautiful. Held in an intimate garden surrounded by lanterns, soft jazz, and close friends, David cried as she walked down the aisle. "You look like my forever," he whispered when she reached him. Their vows were deeply personal, handwritten with trembling hands. And when he kissed her, even the sky held its breath. Their honeymoon in Zanzibar was picture perfect, blue seas, golden sands, and love as boundless as the horizon. But as soon as they returned to Lagos, life returned too. David struggled. His small art studio was not bringing in income. Commissions were rare, and the gallery he hoped to sign with kept stalling. Samantha, on the other hand, had just been promoted to a senior executive role. Long hours, travel, deadlines. Slowly their worlds grew distant. He began sleeping in later, sometimes skipping meals. His laughter faded. Samantha, exhausted, often came home late to find the house in silence. She tried to listen, tried to support, but even love has limits when words go unspoken. One evening she found him packing a bag. "I'm going to Ibadan," he said, avoiding her gaze. "An old friend offered me a space to reset. Just for a while." She wanted to beg him to stay. But her pride stopped her. "If space is what you need," she whispered, "I won't stand in your way." 2 months passed. Samantha filled her days with work and nights with solitude. Tolu checked in constantly, trying to patch wounds only time and understanding could heal. Then one night David called. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't run away from you, I ran from the version of me that couldn't be enough." She cried. They talked all night, about dreams, insecurities, expectations. And by sunrise they weren't the same people who got married. They were rawer, realer, stronger. When he returned to Lagos, he came with more than a bag. He brought clarity. He had begun teaching art in Ibadan, workshops for young students. It didn't pay much, but it gave him purpose. Samantha, in turn, began restructuring her life. She started taking weekends off, cooking with him again, and painting on Sundays even though she couldn't draw a stick figure right. 1 year after their wedding, they renewed their vows, this time on their apartment rooftop with just 6 friends, barefoot, laughing, holding hands with eyes full of storms they'd survived. David's art was finally exhibited in a gallery. Not a massive one, but enough for him to feel seen. Samantha got an offer for a job in the UK. This time she turned it down, not out of fear, but because she had found her home where love had been tested and survived. They weren't perfect. Some nights still held tension and arguments flared over little things. But every morning they chose each other. And that, after all, was what love truly meant.